Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today and also joining our sessions on how materials are being developed at Formlabs. Oops. My name is Fiale. I am a technical program manager here at Formlabs. My primary focus is on new R&D materials for our SLA printers. I am very excited today to have a chance to give you some insights on how Formlabs bring innovative 3D printing materials to the market. And also for today, I'm also joined by Bradley Heil, who is the head of our compliance and regulatory team. So in the next few minutes, I will give an overview of our team and also give more insight in how Formlabs has successfully launched over 60 materials in the past 13 years. And then Bradley will dive deeper into how compliances influence the development of materials. So let's start. So right now in our portfolio, there are about 60 materials for both SLA and SLS. We are specialized in engineering materials for a variety of industrial applications. This also includes specialty materials like flame retardant, silicone, and nylon 11 carbon fiber. We also have expanded into specialty industries like medical, dental, and jewelry. And as our portfolio has grown, so has our team. The materials team at Formlabs consists of over 50 technicians, material scientists, and engineers with diverse backgrounds in chemistry, material science, mechanical engineering, and industrial engineering. Together, we work to ensure that every materials that we made are functional and compatible with our hardwares, but also are easy to use for users. So every new materials at Formlabs project begins with listening closely to our users. We gather feedbacks from users through interviews, user surveys, and an opt-in program where our users can share their printing experiences. This direct inputs help us understanding the challenges of printing and also what are the important factors that our users face in their workflow. But listening to customers is only a part of the process. We also proactively stay on top of all the advancement in the material science field and also the market trends to make sure that we are always on the forefront of the innovation. By knowing where the market is heading, we can proactively design new materials to be the next standard in the market. And with all that effort, the recent launch of us include we have recently launched successfully a few really cool materials, the silicone 40A, alumina 4N, and our white nylon powder. During the research phase is where we form our formulation. In a particular project, we go through about 100 combinations of raw materials before we settle down on a base formulation. Early collaboration with the engineering, product, software, and compliance team help us optimize formulations for a functional and usability product. We also lean onto our loyal user base, the people who have been with us through mutable product iterations. Their real-world insights really help us redefining the product specs. In the development phase, we mainly focus on designing a seamless user experience with our software preform, the printers, and the post-processing units. But we also understand that having an easy workflow is very important, but it's not everything. it's very important to have a quality and consistent printed part. And because of that, we spend a lot of time, effort, and resources in developing the settings and validating them for performance, print accuracy, and reliability. So for an example, for every new layer height of a new SLA material, we conduct about 100 prints over 40 printers, and we use 20 unique geometry models to evaluate them and validate the performance. And as a result, with the recent launch of Form 4, users can expect a 94% print success rate outside of the box. Similarly, we also conduct extensive testings for all of our SLS powders. And if you guys already use Formlabs users, I'm sure you are familiar with our TDS. There are a lot of information on it. I do think that is one of the more informative one out there in the market. So in the TDS, we cover most common mechanical properties using the ASTM standards, but we also provide relevant information such as swap data in different solutions or creep test, and also biocompatibility for skin contact application. All of these materials and supporting documents are continually to be tested and validated while the product remains in the market, because we want to make sure that our users have the most accurate information and have the most up-to-date workflow when they are making their decisions. And lastly, once a project passes the development phase, we will go into a scale-up manufacturing stage. We have a lot of experience in manufacturing resin and powder. Therefore, we follow all the good manufacturing practice and have rigorous quality control process to make sure that the final products meet our standard. Our users can be confident that they will receive a good performance and consistent between our production batches. We also provide comprehensive user guides, certifications, and dedicated customer support to help users bring the new materials into their current workflows. And by following all the steps, we hope that we can empower users across different industries to adopt our materials in their 3D printing journey. And for that, I will pass to Bradley to talk more about regulatory and compliances.
Thanks, Via. My name is Bradley Heil. I run our global regulatory and compliance team here at Formlabs. My team has 4 areas that we support. The first, which we won't talk about today, is our hardware compliance. So bringing all of our hardware to market through product registrations globally for safety, EMC, Wi-Fi, environmental purposes. My other 3 teams all focus on materials, and we'll dig into each of them in a bit more as we go through the slides. And that will be chemical compliance, our medical regulatory, and our materials quality. Fia did a really good job of showing the development cycle of all these materials, from ideation all the way through go to market. And my team is involved in every step along the way. What we try to do is gain early alignment so that the materials team knows what requirements we have for compliance and for regulatory, and then deliver on those through every step in the process. Fia talked about how we get some of these ideas to make new materials. Some of those actually come from us. We're scouring the global landscape. We are in regulated industries, and the regulations change a lot. So we're always looking at, is this material still allowed to be sold in that market? What's coming down the pike of new regulations that might impact what we want to do? And we feed that information back to the materials team. Through the research phase, we're looking at similar global regulations. Are all of our raw materials registered in the markets that we want to sell to? are there any specific medical requirements that we need to make sure that our materials will meet? So maybe specific properties or specific tests that we know we're going to have to pass. Once we get to the development is when we actually do all of that testing. So we're doing all of our verification, our validation. That includes both on the product side and the manufacturing side to scale up production. And then we're ready to go to market. We make sure that all of our customer-facing materials are ready, such as our safety data sheets, all of the labeling, and then doing all of those global registrations, both at the raw material level as well as our medical resins. For chemical compliance, the most important thing that we're looking at is chemical safety. We want to make sure that we are giving you good products that are safe to use and safe for our employees to use. We do a lot of printing ourselves, and I want to make sure that all of our employees are safe throughout the whole process. So part of this is making sure that we choose the right raw materials. You heard Fia say that we might go through 100 different formulations before we choose one. That's a lot of different raw materials, different combinations of those raw materials, and we want to make sure that we're choosing the right ones. So for instance, we have a policy that we're not using ACMO in any of our materials. We know that that could cause safety hazards, and it's just our bottom line, we're not using it. We will communicate all of our safety issues if there are any, and that comes through the SDS and through the labels. Like I talked about, those are go-to-market deliverables that we provide that will tell you all the specific precautions that you need to know about for using our materials. We also handle all those geographic registrations and following up on all the regulations in all the different markets that we want to sell to. Fia talked about some of the information that you might find on our technical data sheet, some of the basic mechanical testing. There are also times where we may choose to go above and beyond that and choose some specific material properties that we want to test. Maybe some of the elastomeric materials might have some additional testing that we do, or we might have something special that we want to do. So think of premium teeth. Color is very important to premium teeth. So we're doing specific validations to make sure that we can always hit the same color out of our manufacturing line. But we're also thinking about it from the user's standpoint. So we've also done additional testing like putting it in coffee and seeing if it would stain coffee, or red wine. So yes, if you are printing with premium teeth, you can definitely enjoy a cab later at the happy hour. It won't stain your teeth because we've done that testing to make sure. In the medical side, we do a lot for the next two, so biocompatibility and sterilization. Our portfolio has a wide range of biocompatible endpoints with different materials, whether that's long-term skin contact, short-term mucosal membrane contact, and it's not just our biomed materials. We also go and do some testing on additional materials that also have some of those properties. Same for sterilization. We want to make sure for medical customers that might sterilize their products that we have modalities that they can use, so we test to make sure that specific sterilization modalities won't impact biocomp, won't impact the mechanical properties of those materials. And we also do some special certifications. The one that jumps to mind is our flame retardant resin. If you've been here, you've probably heard a couple people talk about it already. So it has a UL Blue card. That's the special certification. So it is tested to make sure that it actually meets the standards of the test. But every quarter, they also come and test the quality of the material to make sure that it'll still hit those same properties time after time after time. And speaking of quality, I want to jump into our material quality team. So we make all of our Formlabs resins in the US at our plant in Ohio, and that's where we have our quality team, dedicated to that plant and to making sure that we're always producing good resin. And they're involved in quality throughout the entire manufacturing process. So making sure that we have approved raw material suppliers, from checking the raw materials as they come in, and then even in production, in line quality. So making sure that the right resin's going into the right cartridge, or that we have the right label on the right cartridge, and then we're filling it to the right level. And the one that's most important, I think, for me, is making sure that the materials actually meet spec. So we have a really robust quality control system to test every single lot of resin that we produce, and we wouldn't ship any lot if it doesn't meet our spec. On our biomed side and our medical device side, we also have an ISO 13485 quality management system. We produce all of those materials in an ISO Class 8 clean room. Just also want to call out that this certificate doesn't cover just the manufacturing. It actually covers the entire life cycle that we've already talked about for these biomed and medical device resins. So documenting every step along the development process, having specific procedures on how we handle it, how we manufacture, how we test, and documenting that we've done everything that we say that we're going to do. From the regulatory side, it's broken up into two things. So first, how many people knew that Formlabs makes medical devices? Raise your hand. All right, so this is a medical session, so maybe some of you, my part of this is medical, so maybe some of you knew that. For those online, a couple hands went up, maybe some of the dentists in the room too. But we do make medical devices in the dental space, and those are very highly regulated around the world. So we have to make sure that we register those materials in every market that we want to sell them. From the biomed side, what we do is we work with FDA, and we have master files. So what a master file is we provide all of our data, confidential, proprietary data, to FDA. And this process allows it to share it confidentially, where you can then reference it in your submissions to FDA, whether that's a 510K, PMA. If you're using Biomed Clear, Biomed Durable, Biomed White, or Biomed Black to submit a medical device to FDA, we can write you an authorization letter that allows FDA to look at our confidential data in your submission. And what we found for several customers that have utilized this approach is that we can save them some time and money on biocompatibility testing, where they've actually been able to leverage our testing in their submission. So we have those 4 today, and before the end of the year, we'll have 2 more for Biomed Elastic and for Biomed Flex. So Fia, I'd like to call you back up on stage. Got a couple questions for you. We've talked about this entire development process, and we've talked about how we've done 60 plus materials over the last 13 years. What has been your favorite material to bring to market?
Thanks, Bradley, for very difficult questions. It's really hard to choose one particular project, like a favorite project from all the projects that we have developed, because each project has their own challenges and new learning opportunities. Also, because most of our team, we work on the project from start to finish, so obviously we will have some attachment to our materials. But there are a few that stand out to me, so I would like to list them. The first one would be silicone 40A resin. So some of you may already know, it's really difficult to make a silicone 3D printing materials. This is actually the very first accessible 100% silicone 3D printing material out there. When I mean accessible by have a good printability, actually have a good, can be used for functional parts. The silicone team faced a lot of challenges when they developed the materials, from chemical availabilities and chemistry limitations. But obviously, we passed that. So after almost 2 years of development, we were able to develop a silicone 3D printing material that still maintained the usability and printability that Formlabs is known for. And it was a very rewarding process, because it's opened up a lot of opportunities in soft touch like materials for industry like medical device or consumer. The second one would be the general purpose 5th generation, or also known as GPV5. It was a very interesting project to do, because it's very rare that we have we have an opportunity to develop a material along with hardware development. The goal of it was that we can leverage the technology on both the material side and the hardware side, and to make something better. But as we all know, the more team get involved, the more people get involved, things got more complicated. So there was a lot of challenges, but we learned how to work better with our team. We learned how to make better product, and I think we had a great result after the launch. And I think the third one I would like to mention is Formlabs washing solution. So this is not a typical materials development project, but it is still a Formlabs proprietary formulations. So we're still going through the very typical materials R&D steps, as mentioned earlier. And it was very rewarding to get such a quick positive feedback from both our internal and external users. And most importantly, after all these years, we're finally able to provide a solution that is non-flammable solvent, but still maintaining the washing efficacy that people are familiar with IPA. So what about you, Bradley? What are the challenges that you think of materials development?
Yeah, if I think about it from my team's standpoint, a lot of what we do is in a regulated industry. So we have the chemical regulation piece of it. We have, again, some of the medical stuff that we're dealing with in the medical regulations, but also our customers are in a lot of the same types of industries, whether that's medical, dental, aerospace, government, like lots of restrictions, and keeping on top of all those changes and being able to meet those globally is kind of the challenge, and making sure that the regulation over here is different than this country, and we got to make sure that we're specific over here for that country. So I think that's the biggest challenge. One is that it is a global scope in regulated industries, and those regulations are always changing. We talked about this development cycle. I know we recently launched some resins that are not used on our printers. Can you say what that development cycle looked like? Was it the same as what we would do for developing material on our own printers?
Yeah, sure. So I believe you are talking about the Formlabs Creator Series. For those who don't know about it, it is Formlabs research and developed formulations, but being developed for other printers, other resin printers, and it's currently being sold through Amazon. So honestly, the whole process of the project is not really different from how we have always been doing it. We identify a need for a well-balanced properties materials, but also still safe for our users, especially for users who already acquired other resins printing setup. So because of that, we decided to make two formulations, the super clear and tough, because we believe this would cover most of the applications within this market segments. And in case that you don't know, we also recently we recently made the settings and validated the setting for TUF 2000 and GBV5, also for other resin printers. Again, we follow the same step of making the setting, validating, using different kind of models, a lot of printers. Actually, we made a print farm here in TC for this project. And because we want to make sure that no matter what setup you have, if you are using Formlabs resin, you should experience the same ease of use and the quality that you usually get from Formlabs materials. Last questions. Just out of curiosity, I know a lot of people here are familiar with medical devices, but what do our users usually want to know about compliances?
All right, so I think I get two questions the most. The first is, can I get an SDS? So yes, we will always give you an SDS, but they're also on our website under the materials catalog, and you can get them yourself. They come in all the jurisdictions and all the languages, so you actually don't have to ask me for those. So next year when FIA asks me this question, I hope I don't have to give that answer. But we're always happy to provide them. They're just there for you if you already need them. And the second one would be about biocompatibility. We get asked a lot about, like, can we see your data? What do you have available? So what we do is we write what we call biocomp cert. So each of our materials that have biocomp testing, we will write a certificate that says, here's the material, here's the endpoints that we tested, showing that everything passed, sign off. And that's what we would give to kind of show the confidence that we've done all of the due diligence from our side. We have all the testing. And again, if you're going to submit something with FDA, we could also give you the authorization letter to reference that in your master file. So I think that's all we had today. Thanks for sitting in on our session. Feel free to stick around for the next session to see how you can kind of push additive manufacturing within your own company. Thank you.